Hey everyone, my name is Steve and I'm a customer success engineer at Plunk. This video is going to go over using our example code to understand how to integrate Plunk Home Value. If you haven't seen our video on getting example code up and running, there's a link in the description to view it. I'm going to assume you've already done that. And then if we look into the browser, I'm going to be kind of looking over here at my other screen. You can see Plunk Home Value. And then our first step is going to be to go to the README. This is where the instructions live, and I know you love instructions. So we're going to go to the home value, and we're going to see here there's a little overview. This is going to show you what files have client-side code, server-side code, and then it's also going to show here what two steps you need to do in order to retrieve Plunk Home Value. So the first step is all about getting the parcel ID. You can do that through two different options. First option is use the address search endpoint. That's if you have a complete address string as a parameter. Second option, address search by FIPS and APN endpoint. That's if you have FIPS and APN values as parameters. The first endpoint that you decide to use is going to return a list of hits, which are addresses. So before we talk about that, here you can see in homevalue.js, this is our example route. Here's option number one, which is our default in this web app. This is the address search, and it just uses a complete address string. Option number two is the search by FIPS and APN endpoint. If you want to use that, you'd have to uncomment it and comment out option number one. Note about option number two is it uses an API key value, and there is some authorization on the second option, essentially. One thing that you're going to notice here after we make our request here, that there's a validation step. So that list of addresses that is returned from the endpoint, we want to make sure that the address we sent is in the addresses that we returned. So there's basically three types of address validation that we discuss in this example web app. There's probably more that you could use, but there's human in the loop, validate address parts, or single string address validation. My example is going to go over validate with address parts. So you can see here, this is our validation step calling this function here, which is using the city, state, and zip of the address that we passed from the client to the route on the server side. And it's saying, okay, is the first hit, the first address, city, state, and zip matching the one that we passed? And if it is, then it's true. If it isn't, it's false. Now we're going to go actually to our second step. So if we scroll back up to our second step here, we can see that now we can take the parcel ID from our address that we matched with the first step, and we can use that to get the valuation dollars, appreciation per second, and valuation timestamp. So we can see here, we're checking to see if we have the parcel ID, setting up the URL and options, and then we're making our fetch request, and we're returning that sweet data back to the client side. Client-side code lives in home value example.js, and you can see here, here's my address object. I'm passing that object with my request to the server-side route in the body. And then once we get to the home value data back, we are going to plug it in with our render function into this Plunk home value component. You can see appreciation per second, valuation dollars, and valuation timestamp. If you are going to use this component in your own code, you're going to want to make sure that you have this plunk components.min.js file in your app. And then you're going to want to appropriately link to it in your HTML file like we do here with this script. And that will get you Plunk Home Value. One last thing to note, that if you are looking for more instruction on getting started in your own app, there is a section in our README on doing just that. Right here, you can see get started in your own project. I would go here if you are working on that, and there should be step-by-step instructions on getting that up and running. Thank you for watching.